Very good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to all our delegates for the Distribution Utility Meet 2021. And a very warm welcome to all our speakers and our August Honorable Chair for the session and our moderator for this plenary session on retail competition framework and regulations. So this is the last session for DUM 2021, and it is one of the most a very important topic that we wish to touch upon, which for the utilities and our participants today. So with that, I would like to start by inviting our chair, Mr. R.P. Singh, Honorable Chairman of Uttar Pradesh Electricity Regulatory Commission. He joined IS in August 83 and has dealt with policy formulation, budgeting, implementation, monitoring and coordination, personal management and service delivery aspects of public administration at the state government for 21 years and central government for 6 years levels in India. And in addition, Mr. Singh has worked as senior advisor for 3 years in multilateral development institutions such as World Bank at the board level at Washington, D.C. With that brief introduction, I would like to request our chair for this session, Mr. Singh, to please deliver an introductory remarks and keynote.
Thank you, Reena Suredi, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on this important topic of retail competition and the framework for regulation. As we all know, that retail competition has been lacking in our power system in the country, despite the fact that the Act was enacted in 2003. No, while unbundling of generation and transmission sector happened long back, the distribution sector unbundling has been a non-starter. The unbundling is a necessary condition if we wish to introduce retail competition. Now and then the efforts were made for discom privatization. However, it could not move forward because it was for basically replacing a public monopoly with a private one. And access to affordable and quality power will remain a distant dream unless until we have retail competition. And all other network businesses, if we see like telecom, broadband, DTH, etc., all have been unbundled into various content and carrier business. So it is high time that in the power sector also the distribution sector is unbundled into carrier and content, that is distribution and supply business, so that the private and public players can compete with each other and bring in efficiency and transparency in providing services. Last serious effort of unbundling was done sometime in 2014 when the proposed amendment to the Act could reach up to the standing committee. And I still consider that it is a low-hanging fruit, and if we move forward on that aspect, it can be definitely be very, very useful. Now, the challenge is how we can introduce retail competition. In my opinion, this can only be done through a legislative amendment in the existing Act, whereby the wire business and the content business are segregated. In the Act itself, there are two separate words used. One is distribution and another is supply. However, they are used in conjunction for the distribution count. So if we decide to segregate the distribution business with the supply business, then perhaps we can move forward in providing the retail competition. So amendment to the Electricity Act is a necessary condition. Further, in order to segregate the business of carrier and content, we also need to have the details of the assets and account of the incumbent discom, which is required to be separated into two licenses. And this is only possible if we have got 100% metering at all levels, be it at the consumer level, the feeder level, or substation level, including the distribution transformer. Not only that, what we need to do is that the existing PPA portfolio of the incumbent distribution licensee is required to be frozen and transferred to an intermediary company backed by the government. This intermediary company will be responsible for working as a counterparty to all existing PPAs and selling the procured power to the to the new supply licensees and others. And whatever is the financial recovery from sale of this power purchases, etc., they will socialize and share with all the stakeholders. That means the existing PPA will be transferred to an intermediary company, which will provide to the different competing supply licenses who shall be using the distribution network and by paying a network access fee. So that is the roadmap on which we should try to move forward. So I shared my views on the licensing. Now, another important aspect is distribution and supply tariff. So we need to have two separate tariffs. One will be for the distribution, that is basically network access charge. The company, the distribution company which is currently a natural monopoly and regulated one, it will be providing its wire to the supply company. And the supply company, they will be taking that power from a point of interface which may be decided depending upon whether it is substation level or distribution transformer level or whatever. To that extent, maintaining the network services shall be the responsibility of the distribution company, and then supply company shall be responsible for providing the content, including the metering, billing, collection, etc. And then the obligation part comes in. Who will maintain the universal service obligation? In my opinion, the universal service obligation has to be shared by both, because if primarily if there is no network, then the universal service obligation cannot be attained by or met by the supply licensee. So it has to be shared by both. And similarly, the standard of performance have to be correspondingly met by both the supply licensee as well as the distribution licensee. Now, the tariff designing for will be a different one. It will be only for the distribution part of it, and for supply there will be only a ceiling tariff. And depending upon their efficiency gain, their innovation in offering services and services or things like time of the day or time of the use meter, etc., the supply licensee can offer a choice to the consumer upon their needs and other things. So this is, in my opinion, could be a way forward for introducing retail competition in the power sector. And now coming to the aspect of providing subsidies, etc., because any reform hinges upon how we manage the transition. And currently, there are a large number of consumers who are dependent on government subsidy. So for that, I think we'll have to resort to the direct benefit transfer scheme so that the subsidy to these category of consumers remains available. And again, if the choice of the consumer to select a particular supply shall be without any, without any discrimination or without any sort of restriction. And there has to be also some service provider of the last resort. Perhaps the incumbent distribution company can be also one of the competing supply companies and can be termed as a supplier of the last resort, because sometimes what happens that there are certain technical issues in which people find it difficult to provide services. So this could be a model perhaps we can introduce to provide the retail competition in the sector. And with these remarks, I think we can set the ball rolling for discussion and hear other speakers' view on this, how we can move forward on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful opening remark for this session. Now, I would like to introduce our moderator and panelist And before I hand over the stage to Mr. Neogi, so we have our Mr. Praveen Neogi, Chief Advisor, Corporate Affairs, RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, as our moderator for this Power Pack session. Mr. Neogi is an engineer graduate from Jadavpur University and holds a diploma in finance and accounting management. And he has attended the senior executive program on strategy, leadership, and transformation at the London Business School. Mr. Neogi has had long experience in power and coal sectors with exposure for policy reforms, regulation, and organizational design, having worked with CSC Limited as and as chief executive with Noida Power Company Limited. So with that brief introduction, I would like to welcome Mr. Neogi as the moderator for this session. Next.
Thank you, Reena.
You're welcome, sir. And would like to welcome our panelists, Mr. R.N. Sen, former chairman, West Bengal Electricity Regulatory Commission. He is a power industry expert and has worked with some of the sector's biggest PSUs, including the Damodar Valley Corporation and NTPC Limited. And in the past, Mr. Sen has held the position of chairman, DECML joint venture of coal mining company. He's been a CEO for NTPC SAIL, a managing director with NTPC Alstom, and executive director, Operation Services, NTPC, among others, other positions that he's held. So warm welcome to you, Mr. Sen, as a panelist for this session.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Mr. Bansal was called for a meeting, so unfortunately he will not be able to join, and same for Mr. Gancham. Next panelist, we have with us Mr. Rajesh Mendirata, Managing Director and CEO IGX. Mr. Mendirata has been in this position with effect from November 2021. He has rich experience of 33 years, wherein 14 years he was associated with IEX and played the key role developing power markets in the country. And many first to his credit as key resource, setting up and developing first power exchange, first gas exchange in the country, and implementing energy settlement systems for the region and state in Western region and state of Gujarat respectively. So with that brief introduction, I extend a warm welcome to Mr. Mendirata for this session. Next, we have Ms. Namrata Mukherjee with us. She is the Deputy Chief of Party, Trade and Investment, SARIP with RTI India. She heads the trade and investment work stream with this under this project, which has been initiated by USAID recently. She is responsible for leading the program's cross-border electricity trade related milestones and mobilization of private sector investment in the clean energy sector in the South Asia region. Welcome, Ms. Mukherjee, to this session. Next, we have Mr. Pradyumna Bhagwat from Florence School of Regulation. Pradyum is the research fellow at the Florence School of Regulation. He is an energy policy regulation expert. His current research interests are capacity mechanisms, energy transition in developing countries, EU 10E regulation, energy storage, stakeholder engagement in transmission infrastructure development, developing an economic framework for meshed offshore grids. So with that introduction, I welcome you, Mr. Bhagwat, to this session.
Lina.
So that's all from my side, and extend a warm welcome again to all our panelists and dignitaries for the session. And with that, I hand over the stage to Mr. Neogi for taking forward.
Thank you. And a warm welcome to the speakers as well. It's such an eclectic group because I find that we have strong representation from the disciplines of regulation as well as from the industry and the academia. It's my pleasure to moderate this session, and thank you ISGF for this opportunity I would also believe that, the program you have chosen is a fitting finale to the 2-day deliberations you had on distribution, because retail competition is about last mile connectivity. It's about giving choice to the customer, and it is also a forward looking subject that we can look far and beyond where we are today. So that basically is ground I wanted to set. Mr. Singh has given us a wonderful roadmap from, I would say, from a very broad perspective of the sector as to what needs to be done, starting with legislative amendments and then basically addressing the functional ship separation for doing what we want to see in the shape of retail competition. Let me, for as an introduction to the subject, let me share with you, and Ina just confirm to me that correct.
योगी सर शेयर नहीं हुआ.
I know it's not coming. I know. Just give me.
Mr. Yogi, if you want, I can share your PPT. It's not a problem.
You
Okay.
can use the share button at the bottom, sir.
Yeah, which is
No,
what
no,
I
I will share. I will share. It's not a problem.
Okay,
I'll share.
SK will share.
It's visible?
Yeah, it's visible. Yes. But I won't be able to operate the cursor, right?
You just let me know when to go next. I will do that.
Mr. Nyogi, one more request. If you can come close to the mic, your voice is a little low.
Oh, is it?
Or maybe speak a little louder. That'll be better.
Just give me a second, please. Just give me a second.
Not audible, ma'am.
Sorry, Sudhar, back to you. Is it okay now, Rina? The voice?
Yes, sir, it's better.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Can you see the PPT, right?
Yeah, I can see the PPT which is being hosted by you. I wanted to play my PPT, which is not happening, but in interest of saving time, let it be from your side only. So essentially, what I was trying to say is that it's a fitting finale to the 2-day program you had, because this is indeed a forward-looking subject where a lot needs to happen. In terms of restructuring and repositioning the distribution sector. And as Mr. Singh has already laid out so eloquently, that, what all steps we need to do. So starting with, retail competition, and I was questioning myself, and I must again compliment the organizers, ISGF, that, you have chosen a very apt subject in the sense that you have brought together retail competition, which is essentially deregulation, and you have tried to marry it with regulation and framework. So this may seem a little contrasting, in terms of the headline definition, but it is not. I'll come to that later. First is, what do we mean by retail competition? And here is a sketch, graphic, which I've really picked up from a book by Sally Hunt, which came way back, 2 decades back. And this is how she presented it. And mind you, see, what we have done in the Indian context is to just adopt it. What I try to do, that since we are talking of delicensing as well, with the distributor also being in the game of supplying. So, I have just brought out the distributor slash retailer combined, which might happen in the context, but we'll have to see how it unfolds. But the point to note here is, and we are almost there, because if you look at the wholesale marketplace, right, we have moved away from the single buyer model, and now we have a marketplace of multiple buyers and sellers to evolve. And what retail competition will give you is that wherever you are there in the value chain, you have the freedom to buy and sell, and that is what we want to achieve. So it's basically customer, customer, customer. So that's the mantra we have. The next slide. Next slide. Yeah. And as I said, I was questioning myself, why regulation if we are deregulated? It is because we need to ensure that the customer interests are protected, that there is economic discipline, that the market participants are accountable, that they are responsible for transparent costs, following standard procedures, and maintaining service quality. So it's all about customer when we talk about retail competition. And as the cliche goes, it's the efficiency which is the goal, and competition is just the means. Next. So how is the customer protected? And here I'm giving the UK example. And I found, that, and you must have seen that in the recent context, we have had as many as almost 20 suppliers exiting. And see, they are operating in a market which is mature, where the consumer is much better informed, yet, the exits are taking place. And the suppliers are falling apart, turning financially insolvent. So what Ofgem is doing, and this is from a regulator perspective, and Mr. Singh and Mr. Sen, they will be able to throw much more light on this subject. They are now running the checks and balances. But the basic objective is that whenever a supplier falls apart, the customer doesn't suffer. See, his supply is maintained, that's A, and B, if he has the credit balance in his favor, that is absolutely protected. So what Ofgem is now saying is that, any new supplier, first of all, there is a fit and proper test being redone for the existing suppliers. So, you also look at the quality of the management and leadership too, apart from the financial condition. But what they're also saying that, any new customer who has to come in will have to demonstrate a living will. That is, that the exit is not only orderly, even if you are not a going concern, how do you make sure that the customer is not disadvantaged? So, these are, again, this is food for thought for those, who handle regulation in our country. And I'm just, presenting some of the pointers on which the panelists can come around and discuss. Next. So what are the areas, what does retail competition mean, and what is the framework? A, metering. Again, if you look at UK, there is some stickiness. Customers are not always comfortable in switching suppliers. And EC, the European Commission, has very clearly said that if it is not 15 to 20%, the market is just not working. Why it's not working? You see, the metering part has to be handled in an integral manner so that the data security is protected, A, and B, there is a switching registry with depository function maintaining the security deposit or credit balances, so that in the context of switching, there are no barriers. Look at what happens in telecom. Whenever, for number portability, we don't go through that kind of a hassle because there is a registry with a depository function. And that's how, the retail competition has to evolve. Next. So in the Indian context, what are the sticky issues? Obviously, Mr. Singh mentioned about it. It's the PP. why it is a little complex is that, it's not block transfer we can do, or we can't just split up PPAs into the different fragments. It's because it will keep changing. If you are talking of retail competition, if you're talking of, customers having the switching flexibility, obviously the load profiles will change, and so will the PPA context. So this is what, we have to be sure about. But what Ministry of Power is also trying to do is to bring in this concept of MBT. I find the objective noble, because eventually you are trying to make the PPAs compliant with wholesale market operation. And as Hunt and Shuttleworth, way back in 1996 had observed, that's the ground principle. When PPAs are operated through the market, subjected to competition, essentially the evolution of marginal cost of power. And that's how, consumer is advantaged. It also an efficient, marginal cost of pricing in the market also gives signals for investment, for capacity addition. The next sticky point, to my mind, and I've seen it in UK operating, is that, how do we do the energy aggregation on a daily basis, considering there are 15-minute intervals, 96 of them, and do the reconciliation at the system level? Because, it has to be done ex ante, not, prior to billing, and then it has to be trued up. So you have, on a daily basis, you have to aggregate the energy, have the supplier volume allocated, and then do the reconciliation. So there is something called a profile service, which the National Grid in UK has run or is running. And this is something we have to be cautious about, because most of our consumers are with non-time interval meters. It's not an issue with those who have got smart meters, but definitely those, not having or having the non-time interval meters will pose problems unless we are careful ahead of implementation. Next. I think, this is most of what we need to do. Mr. Singh has also mentioned. I think Namrata is going to bring up in her presentation that, we can't stay with the concept of average cost of supply. It has to be cost of supply according to voltage and consumer category. And once again, we need frameworks. I'm not reading the screen, the frameworks, which will give you the templates, economic principles, the accounting standards to be followed if retail competition is to be ushered in. In the Indian context of the amendments proposed so far, we have suggested that we take out cross-subsidy, wheeling charges, and other adjustments in tariff, and bring them, quite explicitly upfront. If that has to be done, then, the average cost of supply. And the unbundling of retail tariff is key, is because it does give the consumer the best overview of the least cost supplier. So, can you operate the hyperlink, please? Yeah, and this is what Pepco does in US, the Potomac company. They break up the electricity bill in such manner. And I'm not going to the details. Generation, transmission, distribution, and government charges, are very well differentiated. So the consumer, is very clearly given the overview that it makes him make informed decisions of the choices he has in the marketplace. Back, please. Next slide. And I think, this is a subject where I'll request Pradyumna to, throw much more light. I have just scratched the surface. But I do think, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll ask the speakers to respond as well as react, that whether, we can look at retail competition as the pathway to facilitate decarbonization. Because, see, in today's context, without a reference to climate neutrality, no discussion is complete. And electricity is certainly an area which is going to be the major part of decarbonization. So I have just written them out. I'm sure Padma is going to cover in more detail. But what is necessary? Again, a framework, and that's why our subject is so apt. The framework of interconnection arrangements, the framework of interoperatory standards. Because if the DERs are not rooftop solar merely, but it can also be behind the meter applications of storage. It can also be the V2G integration. So you need rule making for market participation in order to make consumers, prosumers engaged in the process, and that's your best bet to move towards the pathway towards decarbonization. What will also evolve in the future context is the evolving role of, because you will need somebody, to host the DERs. Now, whether such DSOs should be housed in DISCOMs in the Indian context, or they should be operating as independent market facilitator to set up the platform of buyers and sellers, that's something we need to get it, for which we will need a framework. Last but not the least, the framework of distribution network. And Mr. Singh, Mr. Sen, both of you, can elucidate on this, because if distribution is to move away from a capex focused investment on which it earns return of equity, because the sales will no longer be volume dependent. On the contrary, they will be facing flat to declining load growth. So how would they be investing in the network of modernizing the grid, of hardening it in terms of building resilience, and meeting the public policy goals of energy efficiency and decarbonization? Next slide, please. This is the last one. Request you to take a look at the red-lined quotation which I picked up this morning, and was stated by the HSBC's chief executive that the hardest move is first political move. So yes, so retail competition won't take off unless there is a stakeholder buy-in of those in power, employees, the consumers. Consumers certainly, have lack of trust in utilities because of the way we have functioned so far. We have to restore that trust. So we need a public communication strategy. And as is said by IMF, that economic reforms will not succeed unless they are understood, believed, and accepted by those they affect. A public communication strategy is stating who gets what and how. And it's not merely consumers, the employees as well, as to what drives the passion, the energy, in order to move towards the concept of retail competition is something we need to make them understand. And I wish Mr. Prasad was around. Again, I end with this, that because we are talking of regulation and framework, we need a framework of market design as well, both wholesale and retail. Because ultimately, it's a retail competition which drives the wholesale prices. I'll end here, and I'll now ask the speakers, to come in one by one. And essentially, I would like to emphasize the fact that, I'm not driving home any points. On the contrary, these are just pointers. And I'll request all the speakers to, basically expand on what I have said, or even come up with their own views. So to start the discussion, let me first request Mr. Sen, Mr. R.N. Sen, to come in. Mr. Sen. Mr. Sen, are you there? Yes, Mr. Sen, we can see you. Mr. Sen, you are mute. Sen, we can't hear you. You are mute, possibly. can't hear you, Mr. Sen.
Mr. Sen, please unmute from the bottom mute button.
Okay, now you can hear me?
Yes, you're loud and clear. Yeah. Please go ahead, Mr. Sen.
Good evening, everybody.
We can hear
There's
you, Mr.
echo
Sen.
going
Please
on.
go
I
ahead.
don't understand. Good evening, everybody. I thanks Margaret for organizing this distribution ultimate every year and giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts. Basically, the subject is very need of the day, retail competition framework and regulation. But I feel before we get into retail competition, there is a substantial need for initial work. And if we see the initial work, I understand the government a lot of initial start completing the initial work by different type of notification and different type of bills and other things. The first thing I like to say that the recently published the one where the government is told to use reform, where they are injecting 3.3 lakhs crores for the improvement of the distribution utilities, both for the capacity building and other thing. So, sorry, let me share my screen. I think it will be.
I think you have some bandwidth issues. So if you can switch off your camera and then share, that will give you more bandwidth.
Maybe Sudhasatha, you can help.
Yeah, if it's problem to share, Mr. Sen, I can share your PPT.
I think SK you should share. He has some bandwidth issue, I think.
I'm doing that.
Okay.
You go ahead because I did have a problem.
I think everyone can view this, right?
Yes.
PPT.
Mr. Sen, you can now move forward. Have the PPT operated.
So can you see the PPT? And you can start, please.
Nice if you can start sharing from your screen.
Yeah, it is already there. We can see the slides. Maybe you can, present from your presentation only. We can see it from here.
Okay, let me continue. If we see the Government of India notification,
I think there is a bandwidth problem. His voice is also breaking.
Yeah, Mr. Niyogi, I think we can move to another speaker and come back to Mr. Sen, and I'll talk to
and the reliability of the power supply
Mr. Sen,
at a competitive rate.
let's try to.
They are talking about.
Okay. But Mr. Sen, your voice is breaking, unfortunately. We can't be.
They are making a distribution company financially.
I don't know if I have. I don't think I have his number. SK ko bolu.
Shall we move on?
SK, please talk to Mr. Sen, and in the meantime, we can move on to another speaker. Mr. Niyogi, you can invite.
Doing that, ma'am.
And you can stop sharing, SK.
Right. So can I request Rajesh Mediratta to come
Yeah.
in, please? So Rajesh, over to you. I think, you start from where I ended. That is
Yeah,
from the market.
yeah, thank you.
That
Thank
is
you, Mr.
from the
Niyogi.
market. Yeah. So from
Yeah,
market
it's-
construct, I mean, yeah.
Thank you, thank you. It is great to be part of your sessions where you moderate so well and bring the subject in a very concise and clear manner. And as Mr. R.P. Singh also have said many things which are very true, and We can only add to what both of you have said. So I can start from the first thing which we did in Electricity Act 2003, where we brought provision of 4 provisions to bring competition at the retail level. One was, of course, parallel licensing, because of course it was coming from legacy, so we did that. But a new provision which we brought was open access to the transmission network and distribution network. Then we brought the privatization, we brought franchisee. So if you see, parallel distribution licensing was not supposed to be a popular model because creating new network is not a viable thing. But of course, we thought open access will work. And after 18 years, we find that it's not working. And again, we talked about cross subsidy surcharge will be reduced. That also did not happen. Additional surcharge also it has started going up. And as I know that in many of the states today, the 2 charges plus transmission and distribution charge goes up to something like 4 to 5 rupees. So that makes the whole thing unviable. And privatization and franchisee, because of course the people's issue, it has not been a popular thing. And next thing what we did, we thought of bringing separation of content and carriage in 2015-14, as Mr. Singh said. And later again we tried to bring in, but again there was a lot of opposition. And then in 2021 we are talking about registration of a distribution company. Now, of course, we are trying to weaken whatever we wanted to do. The best thing would have been the separation of content and carriage, and there is nothing less we should be doing. But as an intermediary point, probably we are working on creating a distribution company. But again, we will lose 10 years. And after 10 years, we'll again go back to doing something which we should have been doing now. What I see that the lowest hanging fruit, which probably Mr. Nyogi, you have said that we should unbundle our bills. If we only separate different components in a bill, a consumer bill, which may be generation charge, then transmission distribution charge, plus then government levies and duties, I think that is the lowest hanging fruit. Then people know that, okay, and then plus also cross subsidy surcharge and additional surcharge. So there is implicit cross subsidy surcharge, cross subsidy, that also we should mention in the bill, so that if somebody is getting it, then for him it will be negative. Those who are paying, that will be positive. And only doing this also can help open access, because then people know that only when I'm buying from a third party, then all other charges will remain same, only energy charge will have to change. And I will only worry about energy charge. I will not talk about other things. So then people stop talking of so many other things which probably we are talking. And second thing, which probably another thing which UK and all other mature markets have done, is they have separated even metering function as independent function. You also said. I think if we are not able to separate wires and content, I think metering separation being done by neutral party, that will definitely be required, even if we are going for the new amendment which we have proposed for registration of distribution company. So I think these two things are easy things to do. Not too much of issues in terms of asset allocation or how the asset valuation will be done, because metering function, and anyway now we are putting smart metering systems. So maybe we ask vendors to bring to do in OPEX model, and then we separate that. And only thing we have to ensure that they are separated from all the generating company, all the distribution company. They are truly neutral. Like we have put conditions for exchange that there will be only limited participation from any market players. So if we do that, probably then we will be able to make it more neutral. And I see that the current thing, like proposal which have been issued by ministry, There also, it looks easy because we are talking about registration of a distribution company. But if you go into detail, there are too many issues to be sorted out. And only thing is we are only delaying it, putting something very simple in the amendment. But finally, we are pushing all the problems to State Electricity Regulatory Commission because they will have to decide on so many issues. First thing is they have to decide on terms and condition of registration. That's very difficult. Even for trading licensee, we have put a condition, few conditions which are financial and other things that anyway will have to be there. But besides that, there will be so many other issues which we need to handle. One is that switching issue. When you want to allow switching, then what should be terms and condition for switching? Then, as Mr. Singh said, the USO, Universal Service Obligation, who should be having that? Supplier of last resort, that is something which we need to worry about. Then again, the cross subsidy surcharge and additional surcharge, I think they will continue to be there. And again, the same issues will come because if CSS and ASS are so high, then there will not be any new registration of distribution company. And then the settlement and system operation. For them, for that, as the UK has developed a system for very small households that they don't have interval metering for them, and then they take a profile and then use the profile for settlement and for system operation. Whether we should use the similar model or we have to take different model, that we need to decide. And profiling is very tough and very disputable issue. Because in India and any other place, I think any distribution company profiling a customer and then using that for commercial purpose will really be a challenge. And I don't know whether any disputes are coming in UK or not, but of course in India there will be too many issues. So I think so when you so this is what I wanted to share. I will be very happy to.
Is there any other additional point? I'm sorry to interrupt, but my idea is that, after all of you have made your initial remarks, I'll try to come back to you so that you can interact amongst yourselves,
No, this is fine, Mr. Nyogi. This is what I wanted to share, and this I strongly feel that two important things, that low-hanging fruits. One is that you unbundle your bill, and second is that you separate metering, at least in the beginning. Later, maybe, of course, we should talk about the separation of wires. And in case of EU, we know that since they also were aware that when you separate them, even after that, there will be so many issues. Actually, real separation happens when everything is very clearly has got a Chinese wall, where even at the board level you have to separate. So that kind of thing we need to prescribe, which EU has prescribed. Same things, conditions we have to prescribe. Then only we talk about separation, real separation. I think Pradyumna will be adding more on that. So I'll stop here and.
Thanks, Rajesh. And you have been very cogent. You have identified the low-hanging fruits. I think the big message you are giving is there's no point beating around the bush. Let's call a spade a spade. If it is retail competition, it's nothing but carriage and content separation. So that's the bottom line. And how we reach there, whether there is a roadmap, as Mr. Singh has said, that's something we can argue about. Is Mr. Sen ready, Rina, or shall we move on, Namrata?
I think he's ready, sir, if we can.
Yeah, he's ready. Yeah.
Right. Then go ahead, Sudha Satta, sharing his screen.
Yeah, sure.
न्योगी सर, आपका वॉल्यूम अभी भी बड़ा लो है, थोड़ा देखिए उसको कैसे कर सकते हैं.
I think it's visible. The slides are visible, right?
Yeah, slides are visible. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's now loud and clear.
Can you come closer to the system? I think it's better, sir.
No, I have, but anyway, I'm also doing it from a different city.
No, it's fine, sir. It's fine now. It's fine.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Sen, please. Mr. Sen, the floor is yours. And we can see your slide. Rina? Shall we move on to Namrata?
I think he's on mute.
Hello.
Can
Hello,
we
can you
sort
listen me
out
now?
Mr. Sen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are able to hear you.
Please. Mr. Sen, you maybe mute. You have to unmute yourself.
We can't hear him. Sir, we can't hear you, Mr. Mendiratna. Sorry, Mr. Sain. You are unmuted, but still we can't hear you.
Ma'am, actually, we can go forward. I will sort the issue.
Okay,
Actually.
now is okay.
Please, so that's what I think,
Yes, we can
Yeah,
hear
it's
you.
okay now.
You can
Okay,
switch
I mean,
off your camera, sir.
Yeah, I thank you all of you because most of the important issues has been brought out by Mr. Niyogi, Mr. Singh, and Mr. Mendiratna, that this type of, retail competition cannot just start overnight. It has to be properly planned and it has to be executed, and then only we should think about switching over to retail competition so that it doesn't fail in the midway. Now, I appreciate the Ministry of Power, the way they have really chalked out the whole process, including the improving the health of the distribution company, latest being the injection of 3.3 lakhs crore for the distribution reform, which is certainly will help in seeing that the distribution companies are coming up to be future ready, and they will be in a position to improve their quality, reliability of the power supply at a competitive rate to the consumer, and which will certainly increase the business volume rate and retention of high value customers. Then they will be in a position to improve their operational efficiency through adoption of professional management, which also has a ministry have identified. Then by the use of smart meter, they will be in a position to prepaid smart meter, they will be in a position to really collect all those, their dues in time. And the separation also, as it has pointed very clearly, there should not be any continuation of the, your unpaid bills or over, your paid amount. So those things should be settled out through prepaid smart. And there has the need for getting at a mechanism for ensuring the government really time. So all these things has been identified by the Ministry for really switching over to a distributed retail competition. Next slide, please. Now, next slide, please. Next slide. Now, what will happen? The licensee will get numbers of benefit, which also reduction of AT&C losses to 12 to 15%, reduction of SCS and ARR gap, which is they're looking for the zero, so that the licensee financial health really, and they are in a position to address this retail competition by providing proper services, and people do not have to just move for the fancy of from one distribution licensee to other one. Then they are also talking about training and capacity building of the existing manpower, creation of IT wing discom. They are making them. So in that sense, the distribution licensee will be in a position to really become one of the most competitive in the international market. Now, also Government of India has identified number of order receipts. The last being the order issued to all the, your state government for separation of 33 kV system from distribution to the state transmission company. So all of us know that one of the major bottleneck of distribution licensee is the network, because like any other service, the network is something which you cannot, create every now and then here and there. Whereas in the telecom order, they don't have to depend on network, whereas this service depends totally on the network. So the moment you switch over this 33 kV system to the transmission company, who is basically not in the business of supplying retail power, so they'll be in a position to manage and maintain those lines also they will be in a position to supply the power up to the distribution transformer, and then also the regulators can think that how to really ensure that the last mile connectivity from the distribution transformer to the consumer, which is basically funded by the consumer. It is basically deposit work. So if the deposit work person is also being handed over to the, the supplier who will be supplying as a new supplier, so then the only limited person remains with the existing distribution licensee, that is from the your say distribution transformer to some portion of the where the common lines are available for the consumers. So this thing also can be addressed. Now consumer gets number of different benefits from this process. Certainly the first thing, we all know that the consumers are nothing but a bonded condition with the licensee. They have to depend. I have seen during my tenure as a regulator that consumers are really fanatically trying to get some services, but they are being denied repeatedly. Whether it is a enhancement of their capacity, whether it is a new connection, or it is everything is basically being denied with a concept that yes, they are basically giving it as a government support. Still, we are not in a position to come out from the concept of distribution licensee is a government department and it not it is basically a service provider. Then, if you switch over to your prepaid smart meters, then of the distribution, it depends on the how, how the regulator is pick it up. Then in the process, distribution licensee will be forced to the market competition and he will be giving you 24/7 uninterrupted power supply. And there will be no requirement of running diesel generating set or all those things, which will become obsolete and which people now can dismantle really. Then Government of India has also come out with a notification where they say that distribution licensee will have to provide temporary connection within 48 hours. And one distribution company is finally sound, they will also encourage this rooftop solar, which is being denied today by tooth and nail by all the distribution licensee. Basically, I've seen in West Bengal where it is a very, very difficult to, allow the people to get rooftop solar, whether it is a CSC area or it is a SCDCL area. They are really putting their best efforts so that the rooftop solar doesn't happen. They see it is a loss of business. So all these things will certainly change once you see the retail business is delicensed, and once they have also made the distribution licenses are also enabled to address their own thing. The next slide. Now, what I feel one of the most important criteria condition for switching over to a retail competition, that you will have to really go for a voltage wise tariff. Though Government of India has come out with 2-3 options, what they are telling that all those cost subsidy will go to a common fund. From common fund, those who are getting high value customers, they'll contribute in the common fund, and from the common fund, the money will be shared with the people who are supplying to the low value consumers, like some of the residential and agriculture. But I feel the best way to address it through Prime Minister. He has made a commitment in our COP26 that yes, we will be becoming totally carbon neutral by 2070. So beyond that, first thing is to switch over to voltage wise tariff, where the industrial tariff and this agricultural tariff, they all will depend on the voltage level, not on the consumer category. And whatever the differential has to be made, this has to be made by the state government through the different type of your cess or duty or taxes or whatever may be. And from that money, they can subsidize the to whom they have to subsidize. What will happen in the process? Number of generating companies which are operating as a captive generators, they will become irrelevant, they will become redundant. So government can come out with a concept that those who are having a heat rate of 2,500 kilocalorie per kilowatt hour, because most of the captive generators, their heat rates are coming from 3,000 to 4,000, because there it becomes commercially viable, because the even with this high heat rate, still it is cheaper than the amount they have to pay to the distribution licensee. That is now, if you make the power cost same as the that of the agriculture or the domestic or anybody else, so they will have no such any incentive for generating a inefficient power and polluting the whole environment. And by shutting down those machines, we will be in a position to save substantial amount of carbon, and also we can switch over to a high efficient generators like 880 megawatt or 660 megawatt, where the heat rate is very, very low. So this will certainly help the distribution licensee also. He will not have the threat of losing high value customers. The high value customers do not have much of incentive for switching over to different places. Similarly, the high value customer also like to continue, but they will be demanding more and more better services and quality. Next slide. Yeah. Now, if we see the responsibility of state regulator, I'll see as per the Electricity Act. So I know most of the people are knowing it. I'm not repeating it because of the next slide. Next slide. Next slide.
Sudarshatha, next slide, please.
Next slide, please. Yeah. Now, the regulator has to play a very major role here. Because the moment the distribution reform, what government has initiated, it has a lot of regulatory intervention, and where the regulator has to sit with the state government and the distribution licenses. You see, these things are really implemented, and their advantages are coming back to the system. Because if you see, whether it is a RAPDRP, APDRP or anything, everywhere, most of the places are, we could not get the benefit more than 20 to 25%, maybe somewhere it is 50%. Even the latest one, your separation of your feeders, those are also, the amount of money is being sanctioned by the government, and that hardly gets fully utilized. I have been witnessing the Rajiv Gandhi Gramin Vidyut Corporation. I mean, I have seen, except the portion what we have been doing, most of the places there is tremendous amount of delay and default. And the scheme has to be extended at least multiple years. So it is the regulator who will have to take the pain to see and see to them that all those things are properly implemented. All those things are implemented by really in total proper spirit. Then the first most important is the separation of the 33 kV. What as I'm saying that separation of 30 kV is very, very important, because then the total supply backbone will be more or less going to the distribution transmission companies. So one transmission company who has no interest in the supply of retail electricity, he will be in a better position to be neutral, and the new entrance will come, he will have to have any problem. Similarly, there has the need of a third-party metering agency company, as which has also again come up in this reform, where the government has earmarked a huge amount of money for prepaid smart meter. And if this prepaid smart meter is owned by a third company like ESL or somebody, so consumer will never have any of, I mean, your worry what is going to happen with the change of the licensing and all those things. Then, uh, then
Mr. Sen, we are
what
running a
we have
little
to
short
then-
of time.
yeah, I'll just finish in another
Please,
5 minutes.
So may I
So,
request you, we
what I
have two
was
more
telling-
speakers to follow you.
Yeah, I'll finish
Yes,
in another
please.
2-3 minutes.
Yes, please.
Similarly, what is to be declared is all those depository work jobs, which is from the consumer to the distributor, has to be totally identified and separated. They can be handed over to a separate, I mean, your administrator, and so that it can keep on maintain properly and keep on changing hands from time to time to the different suppliers. Then next slide. Then yeah, then they will have to implement go for a very proper standard of performance regulation. They will have to go for ensure that moment the amendment bill is getting enacted, they really get into action in all those things, and they should also go for implementation of ERP, because ERP will certainly help in getting the actual tariff. What government is telling that there should not be any gap between SCR and ARR. So all those things will happen, and they'll be getting the reflective tariff, and in the process, the distribution licensee also will get benefit along with the consumers. With this, I feel it requires a lot of deliberation. This may be the ice breaking, but we look for a much more bigger deliberation and discussion once these things started implemented. Thank you very much. Sorry for the trouble I have created due to my all those, network problem. Thank you, to everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Sen, for making the point so forcefully. And what you are suggesting is that if we have to move towards retail competition, we need first the transformation of the utility, the implementation of ERP schemes, and then of course, we have to take the consumers of the situation they are in as they feel hamstrung by the processes and procedures. So that's a foundation, we need to address, from which we can build upon the concept of retail competition. With that, Namrata, can I request you to come in with your presentation?
Yes, Mr. Niyogi, thank you so much, and a very good evening to all of you. Let me take this opportunity to quickly thank organizers ISGF and Reggie for inviting me to speak at the utility meet this year, and address all of you on this important topic of retail competition framework and regulations. I'm just wondering what should I cover, given such esteemed speakers have spoken so much on the subject. I have a very brief presentation that I'll just take you all through. But before that, I just wanted to highlight, democracy, as we talk about, is all about providing choice to the people. And so therefore, consumer is at the heart of everything, right? And same goes for the power sector. But what we have seen is power utilities historically have been government-owned monopolies because of the essential nature of the service that they provide and the massive capital investment that is required. However, with the evolution of markets, we are now seeing nations mostly, all over the world are moving towards recognizing the importance of competition, but within the boundaries of the role that is played by the regulator for providing choice and good quality of service to the consumers. What is important, therefore, is markets function within a set of rules and under the monitoring guidance of regulatory bodies that is able to therefore deliver the user the choice, operational and cost efficiency. So I think within these boundaries, I'll just quickly, share my screen. Let me just see if I can do it. Okay, I've tried sharing it. Can you see my screen? Yogi sir?
Not yet, not yet. It's there.
Okay, great. I'll just quickly, in the interest of time, what I will do is on this slide, I just have 2 points to essentially touch upon over here, right? I think Mahendra Ratna sir has already spoken about breadth of this subject, and so have you, Niyogi sir. But I think open access has been the principal method for competition, even under the Electricity Act, right? I mean, even if we call that as the preamble which introduced competition in the power sector. But why is it that we couldn't take off in distribution? We've seen some very good experience in generation and transmission with regard to competition. What is so unique and different in distribution? Why did this not take, go off? So, a few points I've put over here. One critical aspect is the tariff structures that we currently have, right? Where we have a very high component of inbuilt cross subsidies. The second point that we have is around suboptimal allocation of the costs and losses between wheeling and retail supply functions because of the lack of voltage-wise data on cost and distribution losses. The third point is possibility of existing distribution licensees losing their high-paying consumers, what we call as cherry picking. And finally, there is really a lack of genuine choice. There are only large players who can currently avail open access. So therefore, what is this, again, nature of distribution that leads us to these kind of issues when we try to look at open access? Why has it not worked? Core of it is the distribution companies, in India are managed as two different businesses. One is the distribution business, if I would want to call it more, it's like the carriage. And the second is the retail supply, business, or more of the content business, so as to call it. Now, if I look at the distribution business, the carriage or the wire business, right, it is by nature monopolistic and regulated rate earning business. However, if you look at the retail supply part of the distribution company, it is more conducive to providing choice to the consumer, as it involves purchase of electricity, in bulk from generators, selling it to the consumers, providing customer services, looking at billing, collection of services, and so on and so forth. What happens typically in a market structure where you have the wire business as well as the retail business, which is being handled by a single distribution company, there is a strong conflict of interest which makes the distribution company wary, therefore losing its retail segment to competition. And therefore, scope of introducing open access and retail competition gets limited in this scenario. Therefore, there is a merit of really looking at whether there is a need for segregating so as to call the carriage and the content part of the business. I think my predecessors have also spoken on this. I will move to, a FOR study, which was undertaken way back in 2013, but it very nicely laid down the phase-wise plan through which this kind of a competition in the retail supply of electricity can be brought in. In the first phase, a functional separation essentially takes place where, it's a 1 to 2 years process where the segregation of current discoms into distribution and retail supply companies happen. Various types of activities such as allocation of financial losses, transfer of existing PPA, standards of performance, universal service obligations, all of this is handled in this functional separation period. There is a second phase where there is preparation for competition, and typically this timeline is 2 to 3 years post the completion of the first phase, where you're starting to create a conducive market for retail supply competition. Once again, you're looking at allocation of AT&C losses, reduction of the cross subsidies, upgradation of metering, and so on and so forth. Finally, there's a third phase where you have onset of competition, which obviously is, subsequent to the phase 2, where you have new retail supply companies that are given licenses. So if you look at the logical flow, when you're looking at a separation of carriage and content, this is the phase-wise manner in which it should move. Again, I mean, a lot of time has passed since the FOR study was undertaken in 2013. We had lots of changes in the electricity sector, which took place in the time being. And now we have a, electricity amendment bill, which is, being discussed, where there is a very big paradigm shift where the distribution, where the proposal is that we will do away with license activity for distribution. It is going to allow more discoms to be registered with the Regulatory Commission to supply electricity. What is the aim of this amendment? Therefore, it is to provide choice to the customers, allow entry of new players, improve efficiency, and drive innovation and service, and therefore bring customer centricity in the utility, operation. We'll have to see how this goes through. As Mr. Mendiratta said, there are lots of challenges to, move to this kind of a very different framework, but I'm not going to comment on it at this standpoint. Subsequent to the announcement of, the amendment bill, at least in terms of the draft, which was put up, the revamped distribution scheme was, announced in the union budget of this year, March of this year. And I won't again go into this, but there are some, significant sort of components in this, which is a results-linked program. It has 2 parts to it. There's a conditional financial assistance, which depends on the, type of progress and plan that the distribution company shows with regard to loss reduction. And there are other, initiatives which the distribution company has to demonstrate with regard to solarization of agricultural feeders, separation of agricultural feeders, smart metering rollout, and advanced technology initiatives with regard to AI, ML, etc., that the distribution company plans to undertake. And there's a second part, which I feel is actually the core of this scheme, which is around training and capacity building, which also includes, customer outreach, so that there is a greater offtake of a new technology like a smart meter, which gets into the system per se. Having said this, I'll quickly wrap up. Therefore, there are 4 or 5 key areas where the reforms in the distribution sector and moving towards retail competition is required. One is definitely looking at structural reforms, where you look at, looking at greater autonomy for state-owned discoms. One can also look at distribution franchisee models, which has worked at least in some areas, and maybe some pockets, such as rural areas where private sector investment is difficult to reach. One can still look at continuing with these models. We can look at increasing competition and other PPP models such as minimum service guarantee or the VGF models within the structural reforms segment. Definitely core of it is regulatory reforms. You have to look at parameters around autonomy, competence, transparency. Also, the direct benefit transfer that Mr. Singh was talking about can help in improving, and addressing leakages. Operational reforms, whereby you look at reducing power procurement costs, bringing in billing efficiency, collection efficiency, and reducing the technical losses. Renewable energy integration reforms, this is going to be the core as we are now moving into a disruptive era. So you need discoms to build and develop capacities around RE forecasting, which can enable them reduce their deviation costs and also reduce the need for real-time balancing for distribution companies. And finally, again, a very core part is the managerial reforms, which is going to hinge a lot on, forward-looking customer relationships, performance incentives within the distribution companies. So in a nutshell, I would like to conclude just by saying that competition in supply is an important economic choice, but it needs to be very carefully exercised. For us, timing may be right because in terms of supply availability, we have a somewhat acceptable T&D loss levels, and there is a general move to get away from overall regulated structures. We have seen international experience, in introduction of retail competition as positive, but it has indicated the need to be, more detailed and address the careful transition management. For me, this point is very close, which is India is too large and diverse for one size fits all approach. So we cannot have, cookie cutter privatization of all discoms, which will work in all states. So we have to be mindful of this. Detailed amendments and rules under the Act need to be framed, which will ensure smooth transition to a new regime. PPA allocation mechanism through the HoldCo should be kept simple and as per defined rules. Service quality deviations should be penalized, and the proceeds should somehow flow into a USO fund, which will ensure better quality reliability. There is need for structured resource planning by discoms and move away just from looking at procurement, and a core focus on capacity building of discoms, particularly as we are entering into the era of smart meter rollouts and customer awareness around the benefits of smart meters. I will stop here. I may have gone a little fast, but I think, in the interest of time, Yogi sir, I'll stop here.
Thank you, Namrata. I think if I may pick up a couple of points from what you said is that putting the citizen, placing the citizen at the center of reforms would possibly do the trick. And what has not really worked is the open access regime, and it's basically all boils down to how we engineer the cross subsidy part of the tariff, because that reflects into industrial tariff as well, and then top of cherry picking, etc., when it comes to separation of wares and supply. And then again, it finds its way through to cross subsidy surcharge, which becomes clearly a tariff barrier. Yes, Namrata, finally, we have to see that the discoms, transform organizationally, institutionally, and structurally in order to reach that level of providing choice to customers. But now, since we are running out of time, Pradyumna, it's over to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Niyogi. I'll just share my presentation quickly. Please let me know if you can see it. Is it up and running?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I did have a prepared presentation for this plenary session. And before I get into that, I would first like to thank the organizers, Mr. Reji, Reena, ISGF, for inviting me for this session. And I think it's brave in part of the organizers also to have a sort of session on retail competition, considering what's happening and the bloodbath that's taking place in the European Union, EU, or across the world right now, thanks mainly to gas prices, but I think that's a very different topic. I'll touch upon that in a minute. So I did have this slide set, but I think I'm going to just go a bit off script for a while, because the slide set by itself is quite self-explanatory, and I'm happy to answer anything on that and touch upon some points that I noted down from all our honorable speakers here. I think first and foremost, Namrata made my life, Miss Namrata made my life very easy by with her presentation, and we could just keep her last slide on and discuss it probably for the entire day. But I think I'll touch upon certain points which Mr. Rajesh, Mr. Singh, and the other delegates also spoke about before I get into my presentation per se. So what's happening in UK or in Europe with retail markets right now needs to be taken with a pinch of salt. There is a 5-fold rise, if I see today's market, in gas prices, which has actually led to what's happening with retailers going bust. So 5-fold, I mean, you don't, in 1 year's time, 5-fold is a massive amount of money that you probably need to have on your cash balance if you're a if you're a retail competitor. So that needs to be taken with a pinch of salt. I think the markets, and Mr. Rajesh would probably agree with me, is doing its job, which is cost reflecting. Second, there was a question about decarbonization. Yes, I think if you have, if you give the choice to the customer, putting the customer at the center of the transition, you can have more demand response. That's something in my presentation, and which can lead to better decarbonization if you indeed, because your peakers are going to be coal and gas, especially in countries like India, which is very thermal based. So if you give them the choice when the peakers are running to reduce consumption, you're going to have less emissions, and there's a direct interrelation there. Going beyond that, to what Mr. Rajesh said about unbundling, very, very important point, also touched upon by Namrata about phased unbundling, extremely important. We need to know how to do it. In EU, they did have 3 types of unbundling, which is the legal, ownership, and functional unbundling. And what we have to start looking at distribution and retail as 2 different dimensions, 2 different aspects, and delineate them, and be very critical of not allowing cherry picking, and ensure how subsidies and cross subsidies work. So I think that's one point that's very, very important to keep in mind. But when you talk about retail competition in itself, I mean, the debate is Socratean in its way. I mean, Josco and Littlechild have been arguing about this since the beginning of time in our sector, right? In unbundling, that do we need retail competition or not? So what we need to do is we need to have and I think that's a point that I really need to want to make, is we need to really look at and have a cost benefit analysis about whether we need retail competition or not, and not at a country level, but maybe even at a city and state level, at distribution control areas levels, to see, do we really need this competition or not? So I think this sort of cost benefit analysis is super important. Another very important point within this analysis would be vulnerable customers and consumers, and what are we going to do about them? Right. But then once we decide that we're going to put the consumer at the center of the scheme, what we need to do is give the consumer a choice. And that's where things like dynamic retail tariffs come into the picture, which can be also applied not just by competitors, because yes, of course, the sort of the overall economics or the overall efficiency of the system would improve if you have competition. Being a believer in neoliberal economics, apologies for that, but no apologies. But going forward, it can be also applied by a distribution licensee who has a monopoly. So in my presentation, actually, I wanted to cover 3 points, just classification of retail tariff, because definitions are usually an issue. Then going to bit into a next level, which is design choices. And then finally, what sort of barriers that we see, something that has been covered. So in the next 1 or 2 minutes, I'm sorry, Mr. Yogi, if you can give me an extra minute, I'll cover this. So in terms of taxonomy, you need to know that time of use tariff, critical peak time, all these are basically can be put down under dynamic tariffs. And that also answers your question, that tariffs that vary in time provide an economic signal to encourage customers to change their consumption patterns. And that can reach to optimal socio-economic use of electricity. So the most important word here is socio-economic, which ties into what I said earlier about decarbonization and the usefulness of these sort of tariffs to do that. We have worked on this with ISGF also on identifying what sort of choices and barriers that exist, looking at various different countries across the world, going from South Africa to France and Norway. So basically, when you have to make any design choice for dynamic tariffs, you have 2 major blocks that you have to think about: the time block length on one side, and which refers to the number of distinct tariff periods that you might have during the day. So when you say time of use, you will have peak and off peaks, let's say, or you can have peak, off peak, and shoulder. Or you can, and the other one is price periodicity. How often are you going to update these prices? Is it going to be every year? Is it going to be every minute, or every 15 minutes, every half an hour? So these are the sort of choices that need to be made. And like what Ms. Namrata said, one size, even in this case, when you go down to that level, does not fit all. You can see here real-time prices in several countries, including the United Kingdom, struggling right now at some level. But Octopus is still raising money, so people think retail competition and retail is valuable, and so they're able to raise even private equity today. To going down to even South Korea and some Australian states where they have just a two-block approach, something similar to what we have for commercial generators in India, right? Commercial demand in India. Sorry. Having said that, what's important, and especially looking at what's happening in the bloodbath today, is the choices that regulators and consumers have. So first, there are two types of choices. Choices of the regulators, something that's been touched upon by other speakers. We can have suppliers of last resort, which can be the existing incumbent. That it can go from having price caps like in the UK, or even regulator having the right to set the price eventually in Estonia, to having last resorts or default tariffs at some level. And so this in a way also helps protect the consumer and protect vulnerable consumers especially. And then the next is a consumer choice, where even if you have different tariffs, you can choose between an opt-in or an opt-out option. An opt-in would be that the consumer decides that, okay, I want to get into this and I do not want a flat rate. And an opt-out would be that everybody's put onto a dynamic tariff and then they have a choice of opting out. And finally, menu of tariffs to choose between what suits them, what they prefer, to a very, very forward-looking, innovative thing. Eventually, when we have retail tariff and a lot of competition, a lot of companies across the world are doing this. And then finally, barriers also touched upon. So physical and ICT infrastructure requirements. How are you going to bill, meter? Do we have the requirements? Are we going to have an independent billing agency? Is it going to be done by the retailer? Is it going to be done by the distribution company? All up to be questioned. Sometimes you also need market arrangements. Like we have the IEX now, which can be used to link and have real-time prices. But does it work? We need a very liquid real-time market for this signal to be passed on when you have a real-time pricing at the retail level, because it gets passed across the value chain from the generator to the consumer. And eventually, something which Ms. Namrata touched upon, consumer behavior, it's sort of capacity building. You need to have a lot of learning for the consumer to know if and when do they shift and for what reasons do they shift, which can go beyond just monetary reasons. So that's something very important to keep in mind. Sorry, I spoke really fast because I had to cover a lot of points. Thank you very much. Sorry for going 3 minutes above time, and happy to answer any more questions.
Thanks, Padman. I think, you spoke well. So even if you have spoken a little longer, it's quite useful. Firstly, Sip, you're right that the UK market dynamics are entirely different, and it was a result of the gas prices which impacted the wholesale energy price. That eventually led to the mass exits. But see, what I wanted to pick up from there is the way Ofgem had gone about in protecting the customer interest. So, if you're talking about retail in competition, that's the point we have to keep in mind. See, first, and thank you very much also, you took us through your treatise of the dynamic tariff, and, it's something which we will have to look at seriously in the days to come if decarbonization, energy efficiency, demand side management, demand response systems all have to work in tandem. But you made two very important points which are relevant in our context. One, cost benefit analysis. I mean, is it really worth it? See, Sally Hunt and Shuttleworth had also mentioned way back in 1996, and that reminds me that in jurisdictions where the commercial framework is not existent, and in our case, even contracts are not enforceable always, and where customers are not paying their bills, large-scale reforms are very difficult, especially when you are looking at market transformations and bringing in retail competition. And the next point you also made was, how would vulnerable consumers, the disadvantaged ones, would be impacted? I mean, would they get the juice out of it? It's see again, if you had looked at jurisdiction, it's mainly the large consumers who have benefited from competition, not always the small households. And they have always formed a very sticky proposition. But with that, I think we are running short of time. And Rina, what would you suggest? Because we have already overstepped. Should we have one round of discussion with the speakers before we bring in the chair to give his closing remarks? Or are there even...
So we have about 10 more minutes. We can
Oh,
do
excellent,
one
excellent.
round of question and answers.
Yeah, then see what I'll do before I request Mr. Singh to give his overview of the discussions today and what he thinks as a way forward. Can I just go around from from the last speaker, starting with Padmana, and ask each one of you that in very quickly in 1 or 2 minutes, can you just tell us the one single measure India needs to do to move towards retail competition, or retail competition is not really what we should be looking at, our priorities should be somewhere else?
I think, and I think you just said what my answer, which is that first we need to do a cost benefit analysis at a very disaggregated level to know where it's needed, if it's needed or not, and if it's needed, then where it's needed and to what extent. That's one point. And the second point I would have, and I'll save time for you here, would be, and what Mr. Rajesh sir also said, is about how are you going to unbundle the two. You need to go really just not functional unbundling, but legal and ownership unbundling, and to start looking at the distribution sector. Because in India, when we speak about the distribution sector, we already say about going from medium low voltage and to selling it to the consumer. So we completely miss out on the fact that these are two different functions. And we really need to keep in mind that these two, and once you start thinking of them as two different functions, even if you don't go for full retail or retail competition, you can still you can still think about it to make it more efficient. So I think those are my two limited points for right
Thanks.
now.
Namrata? Just 1 or 2 major
Yes,
points.
yes, I'll be brief over there. Thank you for that very important question. Retail competition, whether we're there or not, I'm not sure. We've discussed too much on this, for a very long time now, many years together. I would think, sir, the RDSS scheme looks promising, particularly with the metering, intervention, this prepaid smart meter interventions. We should run with that. We should make sure that, we have 4-5 years at hand, make sure that we have utilities who are brought on board to understand. This can also be a form of, sort of helping them monetize, have a few revenue streams additional to what they've been used to. And the sector is just so disruptive, sir. I mean, now you have net zero targets, you have a rush for clean, renewable energy, requirements, and we're still talking about retail competition. I think we should, sort of pace out with the development. So for me, 3 things. Definitely the smart meter rollout is what we should work very closely with DISCOMs, with consumers from an outreach perspective. Second is the DSO, point that you touched upon, which I did not. But I think with DERs, with again, right, so many disruptions, the distribution system operator role will be very critical to sort of help the DISCOMs. And the third is DISCOMs now start to look at the system planning. I mean, more in terms of resource planning, the resource adequacy sort of a plan. So that's where I'll pause, sir.
Thanks, Namrata. Just one point, what Padmana was also trying to say. When you talk of smart meters, you also have to think how we are going to implement it for all cross sections, including vulnerable countries. I mean, again, whether there is a need for a cost benefit analysis.
That's right.
But that's a debatable subject, so I won't drag you into that. Mr. Sen, just 1 or 2 major issues you would think we should be looking at.
The first point, what I like to stress is basically making them ready. As everybody is saying, the distribution licenses are today, they are not really ready to address the consumers in a proper way. So the government of India, the capacity building, the smart meter implementation, all those things will be certainly enable them, make them ready before we really switch over to a separation of the license from the distribution utility. This is the first requirement. Second is we'll have to also learn from the failures and the learnings from the different countries where the retail distribution delicing has not helped the domestic consumers to a large extent, as it has also getting reflected in number. So we'll have to really understand whether the domestic or the agriculture consumer, they are really looking for not for the competition, they are mainly looking for the quality of the service. Quality of service is the most important. So how to ensure it? And then also we'll have to go for a separation of the carriage and content. That is very, very important. As already Government of India has come out with a 30 kb separation, 30 kb separation is certainly the very strong point, which will, I has told that with 30 kb up to DT level, distribution transformer level, then the
Thank you. Yeah.
network which has been done by the money of the consumer, that also should be separated so that the existing license will be left with only a very little portion. So that will
Mr.
make
Sen,
the
right.
things much more comfortable. And all those things can only happen when the financial health of the distribution licensee, consumer and the paying consumers, they are not any huge amount of theft, which will also become a very big question. Who will bear the theft? I mean, ultimately, is a carrier or
Mr.
the
Sen,
license?
thank you. I have to move on to other speakers. Thank you very much
Yes,
for the
okay.
points
Is
you
that-
made. And
Thank you very
Rajesh,
much.
yeah, Rajesh, please, just 1 or 2 points.
Yeah, Praveerji, I agree. What you said is the question is very relevant. See, the purpose of retail competition was that we should make power available and affordable. Now, as far as availability is concerned, we have achieved that. So power for all is largely achieved. And as far as affordability is concerned, we know that if there are sections which need to be provided cheaper power, that has also been done because of political reason. Of course, not efficiently, but inefficiently, but it has been done. So only issue is that today, whatever inefficiencies are there in the system, that's being passed on to either high-end customer or industrial and commercial customer. So basically, that is making our industries and other sectors bit of unviable. So that is the only problem which we are facing. Now, I feel that since last 3-4 years, we have not talked much of competition because actually we have realigned our focus to net zero or the sustainability rather, not net zero, but sustainability objectives. And I think this will, of course, take center stage in next 3-4 years. So maybe we should work on competition, but because of one is focus shifting to sustainability, then second is already a measure has been taken by government by providing package and lot of functional, managerial, operational effectiveness have been put in those that package. Probably we can work in that direction now for the time being. But I feel that since our industrial sector is getting impacted very badly because we have not been providing right tariffs to them. For that, I think we need to do something and we need to work on or think upon doing this. But as we go along, we will be actually when DISCOMs will be more viable, probably this will happen. We will be more ready to go for retail competition.
Thanks, Rajesh. You know, the discussion on retail competition, it's always live and it just doesn't, it refuses to give up. The time is always short because there's so much to cover. Mr. Singh,
Yogi sir, I'm telling you, before I actually since 2 decades from 1999, I've been following up for retail competition. I thought that it will happen, and after 2 decades, we are not doing. But anyway, we know that there are compulsions at all the levels because of which we are not able to.
Rajesh, the good thing also is, we have a market today, which we hadn't really thought of in 2 decades back, that it would mature to such extent. But, as I said, the retail competition is a subject which it's just a subject.
Wholesale, yeah, we have achieved good in the wholesale market, yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Singh, your closing remarks, please, before we bring this to an end. We have unfortunately run short of time, but we look up to you to provide us the guidance for the way forward after having listened to the speakers. Mr. Singh. If Mr. Singh around?
I think Mr. Singh is not here right now.
Okay, then shall we bring this to a close? If Mr. Singh is not around, we thought that, as a chair of the session, he could give his closing remarks. So thank you, speakers. I think the message you have given is, it's a tall order. So we need to pause a bit, take a deep breath, set our house in order. And of course, we should look at retail competition as the way forward, but we need to phase it in and phase out the current inefficiencies, not phase down, to be speaking in the climate context, and essentially then see that what else works best for us. And as Pradmuna rightly said, it's a cost benefit analysis. And as Namrata has said, it's the citizen who's going to be at the center of reforms, as Rajesh has so emotionally spoken in favor of a market evolving. And finally, of course, Mr. Sen suggesting that the organizational transformation will have to be there. So thank you, speakers, for a very engaging discussion for 1.5 hours. I'm sorry if I couldn't manage the time so well, but well, that is how it is, that retail competition is always such a subject that, it creates a lot of interactions and interchanges. So thank you all, and thank you, ISGF, for this opportunity to moderate the session.